Welcome to Seen and Solved, where we bring clarity and solutions to manufacturing challenges. I'm your host, Tim Pennington. Today, we're kicking off an exciting three-part series featuring the master of metal finishing, Randy DiSano. In this series, Randy shares invaluable insights into metal finishing and plating that you won't want to miss. Today, we'll hear how Randy tackled a tough plating challenge, failing salt spray tests on heat-treated forgings, and uncovered how better preparation and ultrasonics made all the difference. So let's get started.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
All right, so Randy, you've been at this for a long time. I'm sure you've seen had many days when you got that call from a finisher, one of your customers. They've got a problem, they don't know what to do about it and everything. So I want to talk about one that you recently worked on that you had a problem. The plater just could not figure things out, and you all got involved, and there was hopefully a happy ending to it. But let's talk about that. Anything come to mind?
Sure. It happens all the time. One particular story that I can share with you is, failing salt spray, corrosion resistance. This particular problem that a customer was having, they're plating alkaline zinc on a rack line on forgings, and they're failing salt spray. They're not accomplishing their goals that way. Parts look great, adhesion is fine, cosmetically look good, and, we get involved in finding out why. In this case, it was actually a preparation issue. Forgings, and these are heat-treated forgings. And so you get a lot of heat-treat scale in the nooks and crannies. And it took time to explain to the customer that, believe it or not, it's a cleaning issue. And that's hard to understand when at the end of the line, the work looks fine, the adhesion's good, everything else seems normal. But we were able to, with the support of technology, we were able to visually demonstrate the lack of cleanliness inside the pores of the parts, scale left behind. And trapped in solutions is a very common issue as well. You've got nooks and crannies in a forging where you've got your alkaline cleaners, and then you've got your acid activators, and that those chemistries can mix and create salt. And then the alkaline zinc is not efficient enough to blast right through that, kind of cover that up. And plating is fine, passivation and sealers are fine. But if you don't get those nooks and crannies cleaned out, those salts will eventually corrode from within and bleed right through the deposit.
They really had no problem with their cleaning before this, though, right? Though, it was a pretty good cleaning system, right?
That's right. No problem on the line, but just inadequate ability to flush out those nooks and crannies. And believe it or not, the cure was ultrasonics in the rinse tanks before the alkaline plating to flush the nooks and crannies out. And we can quantitatively show in picture form using technology without the ultrasonics and with the ultrasonics, soils that are still left behind. And once you put the ultrasonics in the rinse tank, it made all the difference in the world.
I was going to ask you, when they first called you, did you have an idea of what the problem, the minute he told you it was a forging, right? Did you have an idea that that's what it was going to be?
Especially with alkaline zinc, it's a pretty common problem to be able to flush out those pores and, and plate cleanly throughout the high and low current densities. Yeah, it's a pretty common problem, but it's hard for people to visualize. So we were able to use, like I said, technology to literally show a bunch of red sites that were left behind in the part that wasn't prepared as well, that didn't salt spray as well. And we were able to visually show them after we put the ultrasonics and a very good reverse electrocleaner. We were able to demonstrate a much cleaner piece, a much better prepared piece, and corrosion resistance improved dramatically.
What does it do to the forgings when it?
It's a little more difficult to clean out. You need to loosen up that scale and remove it from the part, the scale and the oxides. So you have to have a good cleaning process. Soak, reverse electro. Sometimes a double cleaning cycle will help, because once you get through the acid pickle, it can draw out some smut. And then you can maybe, if you have the luxury to go back into an electric cleaner, that's all fine and good. But the main thing that improved on that, and that's not the only, like, this has happened in a few different places. The ultrasonics in front of the zinc tank makes all the difference in the world to flush those pores out.
Is this a situation you might have, like, I think with casting, sometimes you have outgassing? Does that have any part in that?
That's why there's no problem on the line. You can have, all your cleaners are maintained properly. Your zinc is plating well. Your passivates and sealers are all in good shape, low contamination. But forgings and castings, in comparison to, let's say, just a piece of, cold rolled steel, the smoother the base material, the easier it is to get better results with corrosion resistance. So yes, the more porous the base metal is, the more difficult it can be. And it really does come down to preparation.
You use what, electronic photography or microscope to show what was going on inside the parts? How did you do that?
I didn't do that. That was Pavco's technology. They had some sort of instrumentation that was able to quantitatively view the part and the cleanliness or lack of, that could show the customer in picture form the differences. And it made a major breakthrough for the customer.
So like you said, put the ultrasonic in. Did it immediately start getting a better result out of it, or is this?
I have a customer that plates on forgings on a return type alkaline zinc line, and they have ultrasonics before and after the plating. And traditionally, especially in the warm weather, the humidity would cause these bleed out failures. And normally it could be a job for chloride zinc rather than alkaline zinc, because the chloride zinc is much more efficient. It can blast through those nooks and crannies, the smut that can be left behind. Alkaline zinc's not quite efficient enough to do that. I have a customer that's plating on forgings day in and day out, and they actually spent the money to put ultrasonics before and after the alkaline zinc. And salt spray is just fabulous. Cosmetics are beautiful, and they run day in and day out. But that was a key.
Yeah, I'm assuming they had never run parts like this before. This was probably a new situation for them, and they just didn't have the knowledge about what's going to happen, what could be happening, right?
They ran forgings years ago, but once they got into the high distribution alkaline zinc technologies, this is sort of an Achilles heel to that. But this job came back, and they do a ton of it now, because now we know how to prepare the base metal more suitable for alkaline zinc.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, lessons learned in this whole thing. And I think one of them would be, if you're a shop and you're doing something, you're going to, work on parts that are a little different than what you've ever worked on. It might help to, like you said, ring you up and say, this is what I've got, right? I've got these forgings, because you can kind of give them a heads up, right, of what they may be looking for, what trouble they might be having with those.
Right. Again, no problem on the line. They can plate chassis and all kinds of other parts, but castings, forgings are more difficult for alkaline zinc. And, I always say platers are either willing or unwilling to do certain things. They're able or unable to do certain things. Ultrasonics are expensive, but I have a particular customer that runs them day in and day out. It was worth the investment, and they were willing and able to, improve on the process.
Any other lessons that, or, like you said, you would give other shops about this, especially if they're running something or they're getting an unusual result, I guess, to like you said, talk to a supplier, talk to someone like yourself, and ask early what they should be doing, or just have you review a line for them, right?
Well, it happens all the time. A customer will have a new job, and not every job is as straightforward as, just run it through your line. There's a learning curve involved with base materials and, certain, all kinds of different base materials. So there's a learning curve involved.
You would hope they would only learn it one time, right? And then they would keep that.
Once they accomplish their goal, a lot of problems people can have is just operator error, not maintaining the process properly, letting things slide. The cleaners are trying to run the cleaners longer to save on money, or not keeping your anode baskets full, not keeping your contacts, clean. Just the general preventive maintenance. That's most of what can go wrong, is letting the preventive maintenance slip away. It costs money to pull a tank out, batch treat, clean contacts. People would want to run production.
I think a lot of people out there probably put that thought in their head, if they're going to be running something they haven't seen before, maybe to, take a step back and see, what they need to do, or like you said, with the base metal, make sure to take a good look at it. But this is great, Randy. Thank you for shedding some light on that. And I'm sure you probably solved somebody's problem out there before it becomes a bigger problem for them. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit hubbardhall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.